because the president and a Republican Congress passed those tax cuts without a single Democratic vote.
Abuse of power, or quid pro quo, bribery. Call it whatever your focus group wants to call it. Because at the end of the day, you don't have the facts to make out the case. You don't have the facts because the other party on your quid pro quo, your alleged quid pro quo, never felt pressure. We have a primary document, a primary source of information, that is the transcript of the call, that shows there was no connection. We also have the other party, President Zelensky, who said at no time did the Ukrainians feel any pressure to have an investigation.
Worse than President Nixon, President Trump pressured a foreign government.
I take issue and insult that one would suggest the work of this committee is about a dislike for those who voted for President Trump. President Trump is before this committee in articles of impeachment for his own behavior, for his desire to do with public monies and a public position to do a private matter and a political matter, and that is to get dirt on his 2020 potential opponent.
And now we've done that for the past 12 hours, and it's time to summarize our case.
It has to be said, this is basically this concerning part for many of us, this is a focus group impeachment. When you couldn't make, as one of my colleagues, Mr. Richmond said, quid pro quo is not something we all use, but bribery is something somebody understands. Extortion is what somebody understands. You know, doing something illegal is something understanding. What we've heard today from my colleagues is a lot of discussion about crimes that they couldn't charge, crimes that they wouldn't put in their articles of impeachment. If they were so set that he did all of these crimes that were always mentioned, then put them in the articles.
The Department of Defense said that Ukraine had passed their review.
President Trump sought an announcement of political investigations in return for performing two official acts. Number one, he conditioned release of vital military assistance in Ukraine on President Zelensky's public announcement of the investigations. Now imagine if there was a mayor who withheld critical dollars from a police chief to fight terrorism until that chief went to a microphone and simply announced an investigation of the mayor's political opponent.
Please don't confuse Americans with false claims.
I want the members on both sides of the aisle to think about what has happened over these last 2 days and to search their consciences before we cast our final votes. Therefore, the committee will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., at which point I will move to divide the question so that each of us may have the opportunity to cast up or down votes on each of the articles of impeachment, and to let history be our judge. The committee is in recess.
Mr. Chairman, there was no consulting from the minority ranking member on your schedule for tomorrow, in which you just blown up schedules for everyone. You chose not to consult the ranking member on a schedule issue of this magnitude.
So typical.
This is the kangaroo court that we're talking about.
It's more Stalin-esque than
unbelievable.
Not even consult.
Just Stalin-esque. Let's have a dictator. It's good to hear about that.
10 a.m.
Unbelievable.
Well, but also they can say, hey, we had a 3-day trial. We didn't have any fact witnesses, but we had a 3-day trial.
That was the most Bush League play I have seen in my life, because they want to simply get it back on the cameras because it's after 11 o'clock tonight and they don't think enough people is watching. I have never seen anybody want to get in front of these cameras more than this group right here, because they don't have anything to impeach this president on. They don't have anything that they can move on except do Bush League stuff like this. Anybody in America, this should show the American people why this right here is wrong.